I'll tell you one thing that is for sure. Whenever a movie with Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller comes out, I immediately feel emasculated. I mean, how am I supposed to have good self confidence when I look at those two men and just think, I will never look like that in my life, no matter how hard I try? It's really a bummer. It really is. It's really sad. But regardless, I guess it's time to get on with it and talk about Spiderhead, the newest Netflix release movie. Welcome to the Beniverse. Hello, my name is Ben Friedman here from the Beniverse, and today I am talking the newest Netflix release movie, Spiderhead, which stars Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller and is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who just recently made headlines for directing Top Gun Maverick, which is now the biggest film in the world. So this film is being advertised as such from the director of Top Gun Maverick, reuniting him with one of his stars from the movie, Miles Teller. Spiderhead tells the story of a state-of-the-art penitentiary run by brilliant visionary Steve Abesny, played by Chris Hemsworth. Here in this prison, inmates wear a surgically attached device that administers dosage of mind-altering drugs in exchange for shortened sentences. There are no bars, no cells, or orange jumpsuits. In Spiderhead, incarcerated volunteers are free to be themselves until they're not. I think what Spiderhead has to work with is the premise of this film. I think it's a very strong premise. It sounds very Twilight Zone. You have these prisoners who are there and being experimented on, but they are not treated as prisoners. They're in fact treated like friends. You see this Chris Hemsworth Miles Teller relationship built out in the movie, and you feel a genuine connection. This is not simply the relationship of jailer and inmate. There's much more strong, and there's much more of a friendship slash bond there. So I think when you hear this idea of the movie, you think that this film has a lot of great ideas, and I think that's what this film does have. I think Spiderhead has a lot of great ideas. The issue is these ideas never come to fruition. Let me start with the positives. Chris Hemsworth as the main antagonist is really good. I like to see him take a bit more of a villainous approach, and he is not a straight up mustache twirling villain. He has a lot more layers to him. He's a very complicated human. We feel sympathy for him. He feels like he is in the right, and that's what makes this villain so interesting. It's much more interesting to follow a character who believes what they are doing is morally good. And I think he gets to showcase a range that he is not typically known for. He does not get to rely on the Thorisms of his character. His character is never talked about in his looks. He is not this big, brash guy that gets to use his muscles to impose his will. He's a much more quieter figure who has to use his brain. And I think it's impressive to see Chris Hemsworth take this villainous role, especially for a character that feels so internal in his intelligence, where we are always watching this character think his way through situations. And I thought for that, Chris Hemsworth gives the best performance in the movie. Everyone that is not Chris Hemsworth is not a particularly interesting character to follow around. And I think this is largely due to the plot. The plot of this movie falls apart really quick. It just feels really sanitized. It feels very safe. It feels very predictable. You know where every scene's going to go. They're trying to build up on this mystery, but it feels like within the first 15 minutes, you know exactly where this story is heading. Spiderhead can best be described as a bad episode of Black Mirror. It has all the ideas and potential to be great, but ultimately it just feels a little phoned in. And that's my issue with this movie. Joseph Kosinski, who again just recently directed my favorite movie of 2022 so far with Top Gun Maverick, he doesn't do much in Spiderhead. The direction feels very flat. This film's very static. There's not much that feels visually interesting while I'm watching this film. And I think this is just one of those unfortunate situations where COVID really hurt the film's production, because you can clearly tell this film is shot in COVID. A lot of the characters are not on screen together. There's scenes where Chris Hemsworth is facing off, and it has one screen of him like this, just staring and talking to Miles Teller's character, but we don't see Miles Teller in frame. Then the next scene will cut to Miles Teller like this, talking like this directly to Chris Hemsworth. But again, we don't see Chris Hemsworth on stage. it feels like much of this film, the actors are trying to not be exposed together to, of course, prevent the COVID-19 disease from spreading. But what ends up happening is it just feels like there's no one, they're just throwing out lines for no reason. And thus, there's no weight to these lines or real connection. And it's such a bummer because I think had the actors just gotten the chance to talk to one another, to be in the same scenes for more of the film, I think their performances feel more dynamic, and I think it brings the cliched screenplay more to life. What ultimately I am left with is a movie that has the potential but never really clicks. What ultimately becomes is Spiderhead is a movie that has the potential to be good. It has the premise that is very intriguing, and it has the performers there, and it has a very capable director. But ultimately, it feels like a film that was ultimately rushed to make a release date, had to be filmed under unfortunate circumstances, and thus is a film that never really clicks or has any emotion. I just didn't have anything, a feeling towards watching Spiderhead. I did not dislike it. I did not like it. I'm just somewhere straight in the middle on this movie, more leaning negative. When I'm watching this film, I'm just watching a film that felt like it was shot on autopilot. And when I'm watching a film with these actors, with this director, with this type of story, that's not what I want. I don't want to watch a film that just feels like it was so baseline in everything that it does. And ultimately, that's what I feel about this. And it's a real bummer because it's another example of me just kind of coming on this channel criticizing a Netflix movie for just being a generic, bland movie. This, again, Netflix did not produce a bad film with Spiderhead. It is technically better than a lot of the films I've seen this year. But I'm not going to remember it. I'm not going to think about this movie. There's nothing particularly interesting. It is simply a movie that exists. And that feels like a large portion of Netflix's movies. They simply exist. They don't make any impression to the cultural zeitgeist. They simply exist. They're going to get some clicks because it's Chris Hemsworth, it's Miles Teller, and it's the director of Top Gun Maverick, but it just never goes anywhere further than that. And it's just a bummer. It's a bummer to be talking about a Netflix movie that has everything there for it, and yet it never comes to fruition. And that's what this movie is. It's a movie with a lot of good ideas that just never gets off the ground. And I just wasn't particularly impressed with Spiderhead. I'm giving Spiderhead 2 out of 4 stars. It's too bad. This is the summer of Miles Teller. I'm growing the mustache in honor of him from Top Gun Maverick. I just wanted to see more from him, and I wish that this film was stronger, and I wish that I was able to just sing this film's praises because I was so impressed with what Joseph Kosinski did that I thought he was going to be the biggest director in Hollywood. There is still very much a chance that he is going to be. It just sucks that his film right after Top Gun Maverick is one that I find so generic. Did you check it out on Netflix this week? Let me know if you did, what you thought. And as always, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. My name is Ben Friedman here from the Beniverse. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.